Morning dear students, welcome to another lecture in management science. In this lecture I will explain you one more important concept in project management, that is a float. As I have explained in the previous class also about the slack and float are all the time used synonymously, and both the slack and float indicate the time duration with which each activity or event in a project can be delayed without affecting the other activities or predecessor and successor activities of a project much. And in order to calculate the floats, generally we calculate three different elements of floats, namely total float, free float and independent float. All these floats together help a project manager in optimizing both the cost as well as the time that is involved in managing a project. And as such, floats are categorized into three groups, namely total float, free float and independent float. Now let us see the meaning of all these different floats one by one. By total float of a project we mean that the difference between the earliest start time of each activity and the latest start time of that activity. And total float is the time or maximum time that is available for every activity in order to complete a project at the earliest possible duration. Thus, total float is derived by taking the difference between latest start time of each activity and earliest start time of each activity. And another kind of float is a free float. Free float is calculated with the assumption that all the activities in a project are started at the earliest, and as such free float is derived by taking the difference between total float and head event slack of an activity. By head event we mean the event that is the end event of an activity. Suppose in an activity 1 to event 1 is taken as a tail event and event 2 is taken as head event. Thus free float is the difference between total float and head slack or head events slack. And the third type of float is independent float. It is that portion of total float within which an activity may be delayed for start without affecting all its preceding activities. Tail event slack. I repeat, the independent float is calculated by taking the difference between total float and tail events slack. Let us see the calculation of floats by taking a small illustrative example. In this example, we are given with a series of activities starting from activity 1 2 and ending with activity 9 10. We are also given with details of expected durations of all these projects, and from this we are asked to calculate total float, free float and independent float. But in order to calculate floats for any activity, we have to follow the same procedure above anything. In order to calculate either slack times or floats, we have to definitely draw a network diagram. By seeing this network diagram, I think anyone can easily understand the activities that are involved in this project. Just look at the network diagram. 1 2 represents activity 1 2. 2 3 represents another activity, and above each arrow the expected durations of all the activities are given. And once we draw the network diagram carefully as the first step to find out the floats, the next immediate thing which we have to do is to find out the critical path. Again, before finding out or identifying critical path, one must definitely know the meaning of a path. A path in a network diagram means any series of activities that start with the first event and end with the last event. I repeat the meaning of path. A path is a series of activities that start with the first event and end with the last event. And however, in a network diagram, there may be any number of paths as possible, and the path with the highest duration is taken as critical path. And to know the duration of any path, we have to take out the durations of each activity comprising a certain path and make a sum of such durations. I repeat, path's duration is calculated by taking the sum of the durations of all the activities that are involved in a path. Just look at the network diagram here. In this network diagram, let us first of all trace out different paths. As I have said just now, a path is a series of activities that start with the first event and end with the last event. And as such, let us identify the different paths in the network diagram. 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 9, 10 is the first path. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 4, 6, 7, 10 is another path. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 9, 10 is another path, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 9, 10 is another path. And once if you calculate the durations of all the paths separately, just look at the path which has the highest duration. And in this case, the path 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 9, 10 is the path with the highest duration of 34 days, and as such we have to consider the same as a critical path. And so the first step in finding out the floats is to draw network diagram and indicate duration of each activities above each arrow indicating each activity. Then finding out all the different paths and their corresponding durations, and identifying the critical path by taking the path with the highest duration. So this entire thing is the first step in calculating floats of activities. And the next step to calculate floats is to find out event slacks. And to find out event slacks, we have to take up two important computations, namely forward pass computation and backward pass computations. In my previous lectures, I have clearly explained you about the process of calculating backward and forward pass computations. But again, however, let me once again remind you the process of calculating event slacks. And in order to find out event slacks, we need both earliest start time and the latest start time of each event. So how to do that? Let us see this simple example. Let us look at the process of calculating event slacks. In order to calculate event slacks, we need to calculate earliest start time of each event and the latest start time of that event. So let us do it for one or two events. And as I have said in the previous lecture also, the earliest start time of a first event will always be 0. And the earliest start time of a second event is the earliest start time of its predecessor event. For second event, the predecessor event, just look at the network diagram. For event 2, predecessor event is event 1. So for calculating earliest start time of event 2, take the earliest start time of event 1. To this add activity duration of 1, 2. Since only one activity, that is 1, 2 is leading to event 2, just add duration of activity 1, 2. So this would give us 0 plus 2 days, that is equal to 2 days. And similarly for event 3, earliest start time is its predecessor event is 2. So earliest start time of event 2 plus activity duration of 1, 2. 1, 2 activities duration. 1, 2, 3 activities duration is 7 days, and second event's earliest start time is 2 days. So 2 plus 7, this is 9 days. 9 days. Similarly, for fourth event, just look at the fourth event. For the fourth event, there are two predecessor events, namely 2 and 4. So you have to take either third event's earliest start time and to this add activity duration of 3, 4, or take earliest start time of a second event and to this add activity duration of 2, 4. Any maximum value of these two will be the earliest start time of fourth event, and as such here for the second event the earliest start time is 2 days and 2, 4 activities during. For the third event actually the earliest start time is 9 days and duration of 3, 4 is 3 days, or for the second event the earliest start time is 2 days, to this add activity duration of 3 days. Of 2 maximum is 12 days and as such earliest start time of fourth event is 12 days. So in this way just proceed with calculating earliest start time of all the events. After calculating earliest start times of all the events, also calculate a latest start time of all the events. To calculate a latest start time, we have to use backward pass computations and start with calculating latest start time of a last event. And in this table you can see the earliest start time and the latest finish time of all the events, and once they are obtained you have to simply calculate event slack. Here in this table you can see the earliest start time and the latest finish time of all the events, and once those two values are known just take the difference between latest finish time and earliest start time of all the events, which will give you the values of a slack for all the events, and here the values of slacks are listed in the table. So in order to calculate floats, what are the different steps that we have followed till now? At the outset we have drawn the network diagram, and in the same process we have also denoted the durations of each activities upon each arrow indicating several activities, and once the network diagram is drawn we have found out the critical path, which is the path with the highest duration. And once critical path is identified, we have to simply move on to the calculation of earliest start times and the latest finish times of each event, and to do the same we have to use forward pass and backward pass computations. Once latest finish time and earliest start time are calculated, just take out the difference between the two in order to find out the slacks of various events. Now it is the time to calculate floats, and the entire process of calculating 3 different floats is shown in the form of a single table in our next slide. This is a table that indicates the calculation of all the different 3 floats, namely total float, free float and independent float. At the outset we have listed all the activities right from activity 1, 2 to 9, 10, which is the last activity. In the second column just include the durations of all the activities which are given in the problem itself, and then in the third column the earliest start times of all the activities are indicated, which are derived after calculating or after using forward pass computations, and the fourth column is meant for earliest finish time. Again, earliest finish time is derived by taking the sum of earliest start time of each activity and activity duration. As you can see, the fourth column's value is derived by adding the value in the third column and second column. And next we have indicated latest start time and latest finish time. Latest finish times are already calculated in the previous step by using backward pass computations, and we have to simply list out the latest finish times of all the events. Once they are listed out, calculate latest start time of each event by taking the difference between latest finish time and activity duration, and then simply apply the formula for total float, free float and independent float. Total float is calculated by applying the formula latest start time minus earliest start time, or latest finish time minus earliest finish time. In either the ways you will get the same answer. So just first of all find out total float. Total float is equal to latest start time minus earliest start time, or latest finish time minus earliest finish time. Just look at the table here. For the first activity, the latest start time LST is 0 days and earliest start time is 0 days. So difference between 0 and 0 is 0. For the activity 2-3, the latest start time LST is 2 days and earliest start time is also 2 days. So as such, total float for this activity is also 0. And for the third activity, that is 3-4, the latest start time is 9 days and earliest start time is also 9 days. So total float is 0. And for the next activity, that is activity 2-4, latest start time is 9 days and earliest start time is 2 days. Difference between the two is 7 days. Again, just see this activity 4-6. For 4-6 activity, latest start time is 12 days and earliest start time is 12 days. So total float is 0. This way, just calculate total floats of all the activities. Once total floats are calculated, move on to the calculation of free float. We have a simple formula for calculating free float. Free float is equal to total float minus head events slack. Suppose in this activity 1-2, total float is 0 and head event for this activity 1-2 is event 2. So you have to take the value of total float of this activity, that is 0 days, minus head events slack. Here head event in 1-2 activity is 2. So for your reference, I am here with giving you the slacks of various events. So for 1-2 activity, head event is 2. So just see the second event's slack, it is 0 days. So free float of first activity 1-2 is, its total float 0 days minus head events slack 0 days, which is 0 here. And for the next activity, see 2-3 is the next activity. For 2-3 activity, total float is 0. Its head event is 3. So just look at the third event's slack, it is 0. So it's this activity's total float is 0. Its head event is a third event, and for third event slack is 0. So 0 minus 0, free float is also 0. So in the same way, just apply the formula total float minus head events slack to find out free float. And in the same way, calculate independent float by applying the formula free float minus tail events slack. So in order to find out independent float, first of all you have to calculate free float, and to calculate free float you need the value of total float. So the order of calculation is first calculate total float, then calculate free float by applying the formula total float minus head events slack, and to calculate free independent float the formula is free float minus tail events slack. Just look out 1 or 2 computations. For activity 1-2, free float is 0, its tail event is 1. So for first event slack is 0, so its free float is 0, tail event 1's slack is 0. So 0 minus 0 gives us independent float of 0 days. And for this activity 2-3, we have a free float of 0 days, and 2-3 activities tail event is event 2. So for second event slack is 0, free float is 0, 0 minus 0 is 0. In any activity ij, event I is called as tail event, event j is called as head event. So in this way, just practice computing total float, free float and independent float.